I think somewhere in that teenage time, I started to develop a lot of self-confidence issues. I think I've always had a tendency towards wanting to do things very well. It became more of an obsession for me. I wanted to do things perfectly so that I would be liked by people. Then that catapulted into a full-on eating disorder, because if I couldn't be the top mark, the top this, the top that, then at least I could be the most skinny girl, and maybe I would be noticed in that way. And that's where then my self-worth came from for a lot of years. Day to day for me, it was what I didn't eat. I remember sitting at the dinner table with Frank and the kids, and I would just be so distraught with the food on the table that I would just push my plate away, or I'd leave crying. I would take my kids for a walk around the park, and they'd want to look at ducks and pick dandelions, and Mom, was like, no, we need to get going, we need to get walking. Was always a walk was always a form of burning calories. I still did church ministry, I was involved in women's group and all that, but inside I was hiding this part that I absolutely hated myself, and that affected relationships with friends too, because I would sometimes avoid a situation where I knew that there would be food that I wanted to eat, but in my head I felt I couldn't eat, and that was hard for the people around me. When my mom came into the kitchen and said, "You look like you have cancer," and it was like that light bulb went on in my head, I just was like, yep, you're right. And I picked up the phone within 20 minutes and called the mental health unit here in Abbotsford. I just said, I think I have a problem and I need to talk to someone. After hearing a bit of my story and my height and weight and whatnot, and she says, yeah, you definitely sound like you have an eating disorder and you need to come and see me. So I went once a week to group therapy, and I went once a week with my counselor. She left me with quite a few things that I've treasured over my life. One of them was, in order to get to the place you want to be at, you have to leave the place you're at. You have to behave your way to change. I'd spent how much time praying about this over the years, but I needed to take those steps that somebody else was challenging me to do. And then I remember coming out of my counseling session one day, and God, it was like he spoke out of the sky, and he just said, today's your last day of the gym. And I just lost it in my van, sitting there and just crying and crying. And I called my mom. She said, I know it's the best thing for you, but I know it's so hard. And so I stopped. I gave up my membership. I stopped all forms of any physical activity. When I was doing the hard work of challenging the thoughts, I think it was for me vital that I combined that with immersing myself in Scripture, because it was through God speaking to me that I could challenge those thoughts. So it says in Scripture, beloved, you are mine. I would challenge that against, you're not worthy. And so those things slowly transformed who I thought I was into who I really am, and showed me that God's love for me was not contingent upon what I did or didn't do right or wrong. So it broke through that perfectionist attitude. Then I was able to challenge those thoughts that had been part of my life for years and years and years. And now things have changed dramatically for me. I can truly say that I've been transformed. I don't dwell on how I look anymore. I don't dwell on what I eat, don't eat. I don't dwell on my gym time is fun time. Through my recovery, my relationship with Christ has turned to one of, he loves me. I can't say it any different than that. And it's not like I've reached perfection in my relationship with Christ. It's more that Christ loves me because of who I am, and the Bible has come alive for me. He wants to be in relationship with me, and that's my life now. It's 1,000 times better than it was, not because of me, but in spite of me.